one of the other things I wanted to touch upon was really cool. The boxing match between Howard and Saul. That was one of my favorite things because that's like Howard out of his element, if you think about it, right? It's kind of like you wouldn't picture Howard doing that, but it's kind of funny and it's kind of cool. But it was a pretty intense moment, I would say, even though it was filmed in a very lighthearted way. It had like I think it had like some not funny music, but it had like some lighthearted music to it. And it was kind of like that comic relief. But I guess the message behind that was deeper than just the surface level aspect of, oh, they're boxing in a ring. And the quote when you tell Saul at the end, you mistaken my kindness for weakness. That was to me, when I heard that, I go, okay, Howard means business, but at the same time, he's letting Jimmy know or Saul know, I've had enough of this. I want this to end. And I hope this puts a stop to it, but he knows Howard in his mind. He's looking at Saul on the ground like, you were defeated right now, and you're still gonna come back to me. So it's not over.
Right.
And that's kind of
No,
how I.
no, absolutely. And the boxing thing, you're right. You're sort of like, well, this is kind of ridiculous. Um, and yet it is and it isn't because it's so base. Boxing is so base. It seems so non-Howard, right? You're like, oh, Howard's not a boxer. And when we were doing it, we decided that, well, Howard wouldn't do anything that he didn't have the advantage on. And so I took it as like, Howard read in like a men's magazine that boxing and speed training was really good for your cardiovascular. And so he decided, so he hired like the best trainer and the best thing, and he has all the right gear, right? And so he did it. He did it long enough to fancy himself a good boxer. And he's certainly a better boxer than Jimmy. And Jimmy's, way out of shape, but we're both gassed because boxing, I don't know if you've ever done it. It's really about conditioning for your breathing.
Oh,
You
for
get it
sure.
so fast. And so Bob's Bob's point was that we should be like sort of flailing around. And this is the only time that I ever pulled rank on Bob, if there is such a thing. Because Bob had just come off of doing Nobody, the action movie
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where he kicks ass. He's fit and lean and doing all this. And he keeps saying to the director, he's just like, yeah, we both should be like swinging and missing and stuff like that. And I let Bob go off for a second. I said, well, hang on a second. First of all, in the script, it doesn't say anything about Howard being out of shape. And I said, and second of all, I know it really bums you out because you're number one on the call sheet. But in the end, Howard knocks you out. So that's the way it's got to look, is what I'm saying. So he giggled. He goes, okay, okay. But we both agreed that us getting gassed made sense for the amount of time that we were up in the ring. But, we were sitting there in that ring. They made that in the middle of a warehouse in downtown Albuquerque. And it's one of those movie magic moments where, of course it looks like a movie. It's a single lit ring in the middle of this giant warehouse. It's gorgeous. They lit it so nicely. And I'm standing there with Bob, and they've strapped us up with our boxing gloves. And he just giggled and he looked around. And he goes, "Is this crazy? Two middle-aged guys who don't know how to box are boxing now and getting paid for it on camera." And I just laughed, and I was like, "What good fortune to be here, and what good fortune to be with Bob."
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and even how like Louis Moncada trained, I don't know if he just trained
Oh
you or
yeah,
both you guys, but yeah,
yeah.
that's yeah, like just to see that too. Another aspect of the crime world and the real world there,
Oh yeah, and
eh?
Lewis was really encouraging, even though I knew I was terrible. I'd never boxed before, but he was really encouraging. He was a great trainer in that he didn't dwell on what I was doing wrong. He was encouraging and trying to grow the small things that I could do right. And in the end, you'd watch him, and I had a body double as well, as did Bob, for some of the things. But when I saw the final cut, most all of it's us, which is great, which is really
Yeah.
fun.